Let's talk about morality. Morality is a core element of many games, especially RPGs or role-playing games. They usually manifest in some sort of morality system that rewards players when they choose to play in a typically good or evil manner. These choices can take the form of many things, like how characters react to you in-game, certain power-ups, or even what type of ending you get. Usually, your best rewards depend on picking one path or the other, being pure evil or pure good, and fully committing to it. Because of this structure and how the reward system plays out, choices often boil down to a simple, well, what's the best good or evil option here? And what am I playing towards? But here I don't want to talk about morality systems or how they're implemented in games, but instead focus on a game that without this system was actually able to turn my good playthrough into one that actually slowly descended into villainy. Divinity Original Sin 2, or DOS for short, is a pretty standard RPG. You got elves, you got dwarves, you got magic, and occasionally a dragon shows up. You are one of the chosen ones. Based on a magical source found inside you, you are picked by one of the 7 gods to fight the god king from blah 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 blah. It's a classic fantasy story with a sort of retro gaming style where you point and click and go places, and when you end up at those places, you're either going to talk and or kill things there. And you're going to spend a lot of time talking to people and listening to them in this game. And most of the fun will come from the decisions that you make with your character, and those defining moments of how am I going to solve this situation. There is no meter in this game for tracking your good or evil deeds. There are no factions to please, there are no rewards to be earned. If you choose to help a mother find her lost kid, that's on you. If you choose to lie to her that the kid's already gone, that's also on you. It's totally your choice. What's exceptional about Divinity is that for an apparently generic fantasy game, it does an outstanding job at challenging its players' morality. It creates a very realistic descent into villainy. I mean, sure, if you want to be evil right off the bat, you can definitely do that. You can kill everyone you meet, you can pick the jerk options for all the dialogue, you can go nuts. But going in with the intention of being good actually makes this experience much richer. It forces you to reflect on what type of things you personally consider to be good or an excusable act in order to preserve that aura of goodness about the character. I mean, you start off as a collared prisoner on a ship bound for a prison island, being held captive by a group called the Magisters that haul people off to this island to cure them of their source magic. And this cure, you find out, really ends up turning people into husks. So objectively, the Magisters are a bad group of people, right? So killing them whenever possible is a moral free pass. But not so much. While the higher-ups may be cartoonishly evil and anyone with a real name attached to them is over the top, many of the guards you talk to express concern about your well-being, even pitying you for your current situation. After all, they recognize it's not your fault. You have a magical source inside you that attracts demons that kill people, which it definitely does. They see what they're doing as a necessity to keep not only you safe, but everyone else around you. So when you inevitably escape and stumble upon a magister in the woods who's been wounded and blinded, what do?
Don't you understand? You're so dangerous. It isn't your fault, but you are. If you leave this place, you could bring a void woken on your head at any time.
What's the good thing to do in this situation? Do you let him recapture you? Or do you kill him so he can't go warn his friends? Or maybe you heal him, hoping that he lets you go. How about a magical skeleton that hurls obscenities at you and fights you non-stop as you try to get to a treasure room, only to find out once there that he's trapped here, confessing that he's a prisoner to a tyrant he once served? Do you free his soul? Or do you understand that this is a fitting punishment for whatever crime he may have committed? The game is littered with little moments like this, but it's the main characters' stories that really shine. There are 6 pre-made characters in Divinity, each with their own personal plots that thread throughout the game and are littered with little moments of personal reflection and hints about what their past was, and you get to guide them towards what their ultimate journey will be at the end. Of course, no matter which of these pre-made or personal characters you choose to start your adventure with, you will eventually be chosen by one of the 7 gods. No matter who your god is, you're going to find out pretty quickly that their actions are a little removed from benevolent. They have massive egos, or god complexes even, and are kind of assholes. They begin by gifting you with small things, like the ability to bless people, which is nice. Then they eventually teach you how to suck the souls out of people to become more powerful, which is not so nice. The more you discover, the more you find that they seem to only really care about you becoming all-powerful so that they can remain immortal and powerful themselves. They will constantly push you to become as strong as possible, even at the cost of your other party members, who they will often remind you are getting the exact same speech from their god. So who can you trust? And if you're playing this game with friends, it becomes especially tense. If you're trying to play a good character, but you know that your friend isn't, is it up to you to stop them? In the end, are you going to be the one to plunge the knife into your friend's back just so that you can be objectively a better god than them? Losa, the character with the most awkwardly written name, was my personal favorite of the 6 main characters. Her story offered me the most depth and the most morally challenging situations of the game. Losa is a cheery, joke-slinging entertainer who happens to harbor a demon inside of her, constantly whispering into her ear.
Almost caused a bunch of my fans to rip each other to pieces. But you can trust me. I've got this under control.
She's not looking for redemption, she's not looking for revenge, she just wants to have a demon taken out of her head. She's constantly wrestling for control, saying things she doesn't want to say, and even on occasion turning on the party. And while the other members of your party will talk to one of the 7 gods, Losa talks to her demon. Yikes. Of course, what makes Losa's story stand out from the others is this theme of morality. The best moment in Losa's story, and honestly the best moment in the game for me, comes towards its climax and encapsulates perfectly this morality balance that you'll find within Divinity. Before facing off against the demon that's possessing her, Losa has the opportunity to venture into its realm to weaken it. In the realm, you'll run into, at first, a single candle that turns out to be the soul of a mother who made a deal with this demon in exchange for a gift. By snuffing out this candle, you'll weaken the demon, but in turn, end the life that it's attached to. This is a tough choice, but a reasonable trade, right? If you decide to go through with it, then shortly down the road, you'll find 2 more candles. This time, a murderer and a father who made a deal to save his sick child. These 2 candles are bound. You can't extinguish one without extinguishing the other. So if you wanted to weaken the demon a little more, you have to extinguish them both. If you have accepted the sacrifice, you will enter a final chamber, one that is filled with candles. Each candle represents a life, and this is a moral choice. What made the choice especially difficult is that I'd played through the game before, and I didn't have this option to weaken the demon, and he was so powerful, I actually couldn't beat him. That added more weight and more gravity to this situation, knowing that if I didn't do this, I probably couldn't beat him again. But, trying to play a good character, what's the morally good thing to do here? In fact, if you don't blow out the candle, some of your companions may chastise you for it, stating that sometimes the best choices are the hardest ones to make. It's moments like these that inspired me in Divinity, to really question what is a good act and an evil one in a world that's possessed by literal demons. There's no defining moment in Divinity that you can really point to and say, here's where my character became evil. As the story progresses and the threats grow in scale, your god will put more and more pressure on you to seize as much power as you can in order to succeed. Should I kill this servant of the God King? It will get me better gear, but he's begging for his life and has reasons for his actions. Or you may even have thoughts like, everything I do is justified because in the end, I'm the only one that can stop the God King, I'm the only one that can stop this threat, and therefore everything I do is for the greater good. Choosing to be good often boils down to the most emotionally difficult or the least convenient choice. This is something that a lot of games fail at. They implement these morality systems that often boil down to a cheap gimmick. They don't truly make the players think about what they're doing or the actions that they've taken. At the end of Divinity, after you've achieved your goal and saved the world and the final cutscene's rolling, you get to reflect on all the things that your character did, and then you can actually decide whether you succeeded at playing a good character or not. So those are my thoughts on the very nerdy and very morally complex Divinity Original Sin 2. I hope you enjoyed it, and thank you for letting me talk gaming to you today.
Do you hear it?